I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, it's Steph. Welcome to another reading vlog. This is going to be another try an author reading vlog where I read 3 books by an author I haven't read before, in this case Chloe Liese, who, you know, everyone has been telling me to read for ages and I just haven't got around to it yet. So I'm going to be reading the first 3 books in the Bergman Brothers series, I think. It is a Friday night. I was not at work today because I'm not well. So I feel fine. Actually, aside from a little bit of a runny nose and the fact that I sound like I'm croaky, I don't feel unwell, but I'm obviously not well enough to go to work, and given everything, it's probably not a good look. Especially when I talk a lot, I do have a tendency to cough. You know when you get that really weird tickle in your throat and you just can't get rid of it? Like, it's that kind of cough. So that was, you know, not fun. I did try to sleep in. My body had other thoughts. It decided that I would get up at 7:30, which I know is a sleep in for some people, but 7:30, well, I normally get up around 7, so it's only an extra half an hour. So technically, yes, a sleep in, but not really. Yeah, I stayed on the couch and I read all day. I didn't vlog during the day, obviously, because, you know, normally I would be at work. So I figured I would start the reading vlog when the weekend starts at about 5 o'clock. So the books I'm going to be reading are Only When It's Us, Always Only You, and Ever After Always. Fingers crossed it goes well. Everyone speaks so highly of Chloe Liese, so I'm fully expecting to enjoy this. I don't want to be the exception. Like, this is always the nerves when I start one of these vlogs, because I know her books are very well loved. I think what I'll do first is cook up some dinner, and then I'm going to start reading. So earlier today I had a bit of a moment where I just wanted to treat myself to some books, and I basically went onto my Amazon wish list and ordered a bunch of stuff, and just these ones happened to be books that I could get delivered today, which still blows my mind, but you know, whatever, here we are. Most of these are, actually no, I think, are all of them things I read? I can't remember. I think they're all like things I've read. So I got All the Feels, which I absolutely loved, and spoiler alert, so I wanted to have both of those. Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. So this now means I've got the complete set of the Brown Sisters trilogy. There's It Happened One Summer, which is a lot bigger than I remember it being, or a lot longer than I remember it being. And also Klein and Sinker, which I loved. So that was my little treat today, to make myself feel better while I'm feeling rubbish. And it only just occurs to me as I'm looking at them that they're all illustrated covers. I mean, I do like them. Illustrated covers, they are currently the thing, aren't they? Anyway, I have started Only When It's Us, so I'm only like 2 chapters in. I think I've just started the 3rd chapter, and I will say that there is a content warning in this book for a sick parent. The mother of the heroine is in hospital because of cancer and is very immunosuppressed, so there is some of that going on, so I'm assuming that that's going to be sort of prevalent through the whole story. We have Willa, who is the female protagonist of the story. She is a 21-year-old woman. She is at college and she's an athlete, I think for soccer, and she needs to keep her grades up in order to keep playing sport, and she is very close to, you know, having grades that are too low to continue playing from her business mathematics course. And her professor keeps telling her to ask the guy who sits next to her, who is this big broody guy who doesn't talk to her, and when she tries to talk to him, he completely ignores her. Now, I know the reason why that is because I've heard plenty of people talk about this book, but she is very much a hot-tempered, I wouldn't say, well, she's kind of a grumpy heroine, but I don't know if it's just that. I think there's a lot going on, and she admits very early on that she hates confrontation. She doesn't like verbal confrontation with people, and you know, she goes to talk to her professor about the grades, and he's like, well, you have to figure out a way to stay up to date on the content. It's not going to just be handed to you because you're an athlete. And points out that if she'd come and had a conversation with him earlier, that maybe this wouldn't be an issue, and now she needs to be able to problem solve this, which means she has to figure it out. So I have had 2 chapters from Willa's perspective, and now we're going into Ryder's chapters, so I'm hoping to learn a bit more about him. So Ryder has hearing loss in both ears due to having meningitis. It's a side effect of having that and also the antibiotics. So he mostly communicates with his family via text message combos. Alright, so it turns out that Professor McCormack, so the professor for Willa and Ryder's course, is also Ryder's brother-in-law. I think he's married to one of Ryder's sisters, Freya. I think that's how it is. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with this camera. The autofocus keeps coming in and out, but I am about to make some ginger shot in the Vitamix and also a lemon ginger drink. So I'll show you how that all comes together. So that's it, that's the ginger shot. It's 1/3 cup of lemon juice, 1/4 cup of coconut water, a pinch of cayenne pepper, and then 1/4 cup of ginger, although I just used whatever ginger I had left. It's very tasty. Also good to throw in other drinks and smoothies. Okay, and since we're clearly still doing, you know, home remedies with Steph, this is how I make my hot lemon and honey drink. So it's juice of half a lemon. Sorry, it looks a bit pasty at the minute because I've just stirred it. A teaspoon of honey, and this happens to be honey from the hives of a family friend from a few years back, which I always save for when I'm sick because they used to live close by where I live, and that's always the best honey to have. I throw in some ginger paste. I know I had fresh ginger, but I always keep that in the fridge and it's always helpful. I've been throwing in some turmeric and also a tiny bit of, oh, I don't know if that's going to focus, cayenne pepper, and then I just fill it with hot water and it's really tasty, and it also helps my throat. Hi everyone, I forgot to update last night, mostly because I got really tired and went to bed, but I did finish Only When It's Us, and I enjoyed it. I found the pacing just a little bit slow for me. I know it's a slow burn, but yeah, sometimes that doesn't always work out perfectly for me, and that was probably the only thing that, you know, concerned me about the book. I actually really liked it. I really liked the way that the author had a lot of discussions around deaf and hard of hearing issues, particularly how Ryder sees himself, because he's really struggling with it. At the start of the book, we know that he doesn't really wear hearing aids because in the past they've given him trouble, and he doesn't think it's worth it. But then he starts to explore and talk with his doctors and his audiologists around it a little bit more, and so he's trying things, but he doesn't make a big deal about it with other people because he knows how they get, and he doesn't want them to think that just because he's wearing a hearing aid that is the most foolproof method of communicating with him. So I liked seeing that discussed, and I know that, I can't remember if I've already said this, but I was going back through the author's notes, and she did talk about how she did have people give her feedback around the representation of deaf, hard of hearing, particularly having a character who comes into that later in life. So he was hearing before he lost his hearing, and, you know, people gave her feedback, and so she apparently reworked parts of the book, which I think is fantastic to take that feedback on board and to try and give the best representation you can for one character, because this is only one character's perspective and not everyone's experience is the same. So I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed that, you know, characters got told when they were assuming one thing about him or not. And, you know, Ryder calls people out all the time for making assumptions about what he can and can't hear. I do also want to say that, yes, the storyline with Willa's mother does come to a particular endpoint, so you do have loss of a parent and grief as a result of that. And there were just some really beautiful scenes on page towards her last days, and, you know, we got a little bit of insight into her mother. She became more of a prominent character sort of in the second third of the book, and I think that was important. So this, you know, was a new adult story. They're both in college, although Ryder felt older. I don't actually know if we get told how old he is. We know that Willa is 21, but he felt a lot older, a lot more mature, I suppose, because Willa is very hot-tempered and tends to react to things very, very quickly. And actually the other thing that I really liked about her character is that she that she's a verbal processor. So she literally says everything out loud, and she doesn't even realize that she's saying half the things that she says out loud until people answer the thought that she had in her head, but she's actually said it out loud. And it happens the whole way through the book, because I know people like that, and it's very endearing. But yes, sometimes the the filter is not there. But yeah, overall I enjoyed the story. I'm very intrigued to continue. I'm enjoying getting to know all of the characters in the Bergman family. So I am going to start Always Only You, which is Soren's book, or Ren's book, who is Ryder's older brother, and he's a hockey player. I'm planning on hopefully reading through the next 2 books today. I just want to read. Okay, so I just started the book and I really like Frankie so far. She's spent most of this first chapter just commenting on the fact that, you know, she's the social media manager for the hockey team that Ren plays for. She's known him for 3 years. She loves that he will do anything that she asks him to do re social media, and that he's got this very good guy personality, but that is basically perpetually happy, and that every time he just turns up the happiness, she just sort of gets more grumpy. But the scene that they're just in, she's literally just walked into him in the locker rooms and he's shirtless, and you know, the comment is that he never walks around the locker room shirtless. He's usually more modest than that. It's great. I'm really loving her inner commentary, so I think this is going to be good. And this is a grumpy heroine, sunshiny hero, I think, so I love that. Ren's team is entering the first game for the playoffs series, and apparently they have started this tradition because it was a couple of years ago he hosted a team party before they left to go on the road. And because Ren is a Shakespeare fan, he made everyone food because he likes to cook, and he cooked all of his mother's Swedish recipes, and then made them all perform scenes from one of Shakespeare's plays. And so now every year before they go on playoffs, because of superstition, they all get together and they all perform these little scenes from Shakespeare. And you've got the people who've been doing it for years, and you've got people who are trying to swap roles, and people are like, no, well, I've been waiting to play this role for years, so no, you can't have it. And then others who are trying to take photos as blackmail material. And there was just a line, it says, what are the rules of theatre in this house? And it's just very clear that, you know, they've clearly set this up as a safe space. And, you know, Ren is such a good guy. Like, he's the happy sunshine, inclusive, he wants everyone to feel safe. And yes, he has, you know, a side, he admits, you know, he has to keep his own anger under control, and he's worked out ways to do that safely so that it doesn't impact on anyone else. But this is just the sweetest thing. Like, it's so adorable. Alright, so I'm back from my lovely COVID test, which, you know, it really made my eyes water, and I was feeling totally fine. I wasn't feeling tired, my eyes were fine till that happened, and now I'm just like, I want to go to sleep. So yes, totally watery eyes for that. And also the doctor basically going, I think you need to go and get your thyroid checked. I'm like, great. My mum does have a thyroid issue, so I knew this was eventually coming. But essentially my resting heart rate is too high, which to me is just normal, but apparently is not normal. So anyway, I've booked in for another GP appointment to get that referral later next week. Hopefully once all these symptoms have gone away, which would be nice. Fingers crossed that this PCR comes back negative, but for now I'm going to continue reading Always Only You, because I'm actually, how far am I into it? 67% of the way through. I am really enjoying this. I'm enjoying it a lot more than the first book, which I liked. I really liked the first book, but this one I'm more invested, I think, in these characters. I'll let you know some more thoughts very soon. It's super sweet because we know that Frankie is autistic, and the author herself is autistic, so this is written from her experiences. But we also know that Ren's youngest sister and the youngest child in the family, Ziggy, is also autistic and has been having a hard time, and Frankie takes time to get to know her and to talk to her and let her know that, you know, she will get to a point where it's okay and she'll understand what she needs to do and how to, I don't want to say cope, because, but you know, how to deal with her life as an autistic woman. And they've just all gone to Ziggy's birthday party at Ren's family home, and Frankie and Ziggy they understand each other, and they also understand how other people don't understand how they think, which is really sweet to have them have that connection and have someone else around who gets it. I don't know if I explained that properly, but it's just a really nice scene. Oh great, we've hit the portion of the evening where I start to lose my voice again. So I really enjoyed this. They have that grumpy sunshine dynamic, and Ren is just a giant big softie, and Frankie is awesome. I really, really loved her character and what she fights for, and you know, the fact that she's dealing with how to let other people in and to accept their love and their help at times when she's so used to fending for herself. That's very highly relatable. It is nearly dinner time, so I'm going to jump in the shower, I'm going to have some dinner, and then I'm going to start the next book, which is the Marriage in Trouble Second Chance story for Freya, who is the oldest sibling and the oldest sister, and Aiden, who is the professor in the first book. So I'm gonna get to that soon. I have eaten and I forgot to film anything of that because I'm a terrible vlogger, but also because I was talking to my mum and also trying to remember to finish off doing some Instagram stuff in my stories, which, you know, I post one of those things that says, you know, give me a number and I'll answer the question sort of thing, and then I forget that I posted it and don't answer the questions. So I've caught up on that, and I'm about to start Ever After Always. I can never remember the titles of these books. This is going to be the whole vlog. And now I'm beginning to wonder, I'm going to see how I feel after this book, about potentially just continuing on with the series, because there are 2 more books that are already out, or at least 1 more book that's already out, and possibly a 5th one. So maybe I'll continue the vlog tomorrow and just read what's currently out of the series. So I'm just currently dying of laughter because this is the marriage in trouble story between Freya and Aiden, and we know that their marriage is on the rocks. We know that Freya has kicked Aiden out and that he's come back and he's just missed a family event, which he never misses, with her family. And so on his way home, the Bergman Brothers kidnap him and shove him in a van. Basically, you know, Liam Neeson taking him, which is the running joke that they have as they're shoving him in the van. And they take him for an intervention to try and figure out what is going on so they can help him fix his relationship with their sister. One of the youngest brothers has just pulled out a romance novel and is giving advice from the imitable Liese Kleypas, like literally stating, in the words of Liese Kleypas, quote, and I'm currently dying of laughter because Aiden is, who the hell is Liese Kleypas? It's so funny. My little romance reading heart is very entertained. I mean, I don't read Liese Kleypas myself, but I know who she is. Okay, gonna keep reading. Good morning, friends. I just realized I don't think I updated you last night about Ever After Always. Gosh, I tell you what, I'm never going to remember these titles. I know I said that earlier, but I'm really not. It is Sunday morning. It is just after 9 o'clock. I have my bed sheets in the wash, and I'm currently just writing out some general report statements for our reports this semester. They're not due for another week, but I figured I wanted to type out some ideas just briefly because we have to write approximately 3 to 4 sentences. They're just general statements about the kids because I want my teaching partner to have time to look at them this week and add her spin to them. Then I'm probably going to jump back into some reading. I did get my COVID test results back this morning. I am negative for COVID. That is not a shock. I would have been really, really surprised if I tested positive for that. I'm mostly feeling okay this morning. I actually haven't taken anything yet. No, I haven't taken anything yet for it. I woke up, I was far less congested this morning than I was previously. I was still congested after a little while, but I'm up and about, so I suppose there is that. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am at the moment. All right, I've managed to sit the camera down on top of my tea flask. But in terms of the book, I was really, really happy with how that all turned out because we got to see Freya and Aiden as they dealt with the things in their marriage that had changed over time. And I think that's one of the big messages, is that, you know, people always grow and change, and that stands to reason that in a marriage, your marriage is going to change because you as people are changing, and they had their marriage counselling, and they had the forced proximity situation forced on them by their families, who all the siblings banded together to make them spend time with one another. So they had to confront a whole lot of things, and while, you know, the siblings were meddling in ways that they probably shouldn't have, it did give them opportunities to actually clear the air and talk about the things that were worrying them and the things that gave them concern, because Aidan has anxiety that's related to his upbringing, because he grew up really poor, and before he starts a family, he really wants to be in a place where he can financially provide for his family, and that's causing a huge amount of stress for him. And Freya has her own things that she's changed as a person, but she's also given up a lot of things that she probably didn't need to in order to have this marriage. And I like that they eventually got around to talking it out. And yes, there's a whole lot of drama, and yes, there's the third act. In fact, it's really late in the story. It was like 90% that they had this massive blow up after they'd sort of finally resolved some of their issues, which I'm beginning to sense is a Chloe Liese theme, because all of her books are incredibly slow burn. But you feel for these characters, and you want them to succeed, and you want them to be able to resolve their issues. And sometimes you feel that in a romance book, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's purely just a story, but these characters feel like real people. They are not your super rich people. The Bergmans as a family are comfortable, but they're not billionaires or millionaires. They're us. When you find books like that are highly relatable, it does make the reading experience a lot more enjoyable. I'm going to finish off these report statements or comments. I've only got maybe 6 to go, and then do a bit of tidying, and then get back into reading the next book, which is Rooney and Axel's book, which I'm very excited about. So I've started With You Forever, which is Rooney and Axel's story. Very excited. We've just had Rooney's opening chapter, and it's the first time we've gotten a lot of information about her. So she is Willa's friend from the first book. They were best friends and roommates. They both played soccer together. What we find out is that Rooney has a chronic illness. She has an IBD, and she has just gone through a patch where it's been really, really bad, and she hasn't told anyone. She hasn't told any of her friends. And she is in law school, but her doctor basically said you have to pick one. You have to pick your studies or your health, and you can't do both at the same time at the moment. So she is taking a break, and Willa and Ryder offered up the Bergman's A-frame cottage that features quite heavily in all these stories. It's kind of like this little cabin in the middle of Washington that their parents owned, that the kids do upkeep on, and as such they get these time fractions where they can spend time there. And so Willa has said the Bergmans are happy for her to spend some time there because no one's currently using it, so that's where she's on her way to. And I'm assuming that Axel is currently already there, so I'm going to keep reading. I love Rooney's character. She's been a great side character in all of the other books, so I'm really excited that she gets one of her own. I knew this was a marriage of convenience, but I've just found out that it is the marriage of convenience where there is an inheritance with stipulation that someone has to get married. I'm pretty sure that stuff's not legal, but my God, is it hilarious, and I like finding it in books. So I'm 40% in, and Axel and Rooney have had their marriage of convenience, and mostly Axel is avoiding her outside of, mandatory time that they have to spend together, because he has feelings for her, but he doesn't want to show them. Because of the marriage of convenience, Axel has been able to get the inheritance with me, which means he's able to fix up the A-frame cabin that belongs to his family. And Rooney has also opened up to him about her chronic illness, and he's even taken her to one of her infusion appointments, which resulted in him fainting because he really hates needles. And it was a really nice scene between the two of them. But afterwards, Willa called and was going to come up to see Rooney, but obviously they don't want anyone there to see that the repairs are being done on the cabin. So Rooney's offered to drive down to visit Willa, and so Axel is left on his own with the cabin, and then suddenly one of his younger brothers, Oliver, turns up distraught, and Axel is just like, will no one give me any peace? But he lets Oliver sleep in his bed, and then he's woken up the next morning by the other youngest brother, Vigo, and he's just like, will this not end at all, ever? But Vigo is very, very funny because he loves to read romance books, and he's been foisting them on his brothers. And it's very, very endearing because this is the one who keeps talking about declarations of Liese Kleypas. I really like the family dynamic that happens in these books because they're just very relatable and very likable. my gosh, that one is my favorite. I loved it so much. Anyway, it's finished, and look, the only thing I wanted to see was everyone finding out that they were married. Like, I just wanted to see that scene. To be honest, this book actually featured less of the Bergman family than previous books, or at least it felt like it. It was very much Rooney and Axel sorting out their relationship alone, away from everyone else, and I didn't dislike it. I love all the side characters. I love the way that they are when they get together, and there's a really fun little Christmas scene towards the end of the book. But I like the self-containedness of this one. It was just very, very sweet. It is just after 4 o'clock. I've got a couple of things to do, and then I'm going to start Oliver's book, which is an romance, I think. It's just after 6. I've had dinner and showered and all of that jazz, and I'm going to start Everything for You, which is Oliver's book, but at the same time I'm also going to be laminating all of this. It just has to happen because this is actually for our writing moderation this week. I think I talked about it earlier in the vlog, I can't remember. Maybe this part will get cut out, but we have our writing assessment happening next week, and my job as literacy leader is to make sure that we have all of our curriculum printed and laminated. And I'm not sure where we used to have these, but we haven't done a proper moderation in a little while because of lockdowns and whatnot. So I'm not sure where the original ones went. So I'm doing them again, and because I'm me, they are now currently color coded. There's 2 or 3 sheets per year level. So here in Victoria, we have the Victorian curriculum. There's levels A, B, C and D, which is pre-starting school, and then there is foundation, which is the year that I teach, up to year 6, because my school is after 6 school, and of course because we have students in year 6 and some in year 5 who are working well above that level, we've also got year 7 and 8 in here as well. So I'm going to be laminating all of those while I start reading this book. I'm currently dying from an overdose of cute because this is Ollie's book, and we open this book with Rooney and Axel renewing their vows with the family. So that's the sort of the prologue, and then we jump 4 years ahead, and one of the Bergman clan have had a baby, and Ollie is currently playing for Los Angeles Galaxy, and his niece is currently in the changing rooms with him and the team, and you can tell that she's very familiar with being there because she's playing around with all of them, and it is just the cutest little scene ever in the world. And we've just met the love interest for this book, Gavin, who is an older professional soccer player who Ollie has looked up to, but he apparently is a giant grump who does not like Ollie. So especially with the niece running around, and Ollie is just about to take his niece out, and she asks Ollie to get her ball back from the grump, and Gavin looks very unimpressed. Of course, I turn on the camera and start having a coughing fit. I just finished Everything for You, and also just realized it came out like 5 days ago, so clearly this reading vlog was very well timed. I loved it. I really loved Gavin and Ollie's relationship. I like that Gavin is sort of dealing with the end of his career and the uncertainty that comes with that, as well as dealing with chronic pain as the result of being, you know, a professional sports person. And Ollie really doing some growing up because he's been the youngest of the brothers, and he's always been the prankster, and there were plenty of pranks played in this book, which was really fun. But, you know, once they got out of their own way, their relationship was really, really sweet, and I loved it. But now I have to wait till next year to read the next book, so that sucks. But I will continue the series because I do want Vigo's story and I do want Ziggy's story as well, and I just want them to get their happily ever afters. So yeah, that's about it for this reading vlog. I really enjoyed it. I am enjoying these try and author videos. Yeah, I'll probably keep doing one every other month or so, just to keep things up and try new authors. So if there's anyone that you think that I would like based on, you know, the books that I read, feel free to suggest that author down below, and I'll see if I've read anything by them for a start, and then see if there's things that I'm interested in picking up. And maybe I'll alternate these with tropes or themes for reading vlogs. Thank you very much for watching. I know there wasn't a lot of b-roll footage and stuff this weekend. I've mostly kept myself parked on this couch while I try and mentally prepare myself for the coming week. So tomorrow I will have to be standing outside in the cold and potentially the rain at cross country. I wish I could say that I'm enthusiastic about it, but I'm really not. But anyway, it is what it is, and I will just have to do it. So keep your fingers crossed for me. I hope that you guys are doing well, that you're staying safe, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.